8 p.m. Eastern. This is nothing short of astronomical. I am at a loss for words to meteorologically describe you the storm's small eye and intensity. Okay? 180 miles per hour max sustained winds and gusts 200 plus miles an hour. This is now the fourth strongest hurricane ever recorded by pressure on this side of the world. The eye is tiny at nearly 3.8 miles wide. This hurricane is nearing the mathematical limit of what Earth's atmosphere over this ocean water can produce. I saw a meteorologist say if there was a Category 6 hurricane, Hurricane Milton would be a Category 6. It's going to undergo another EWRC eye wall replacement cycle, and its wind field will only grow before landfall. It's going to get bigger. I heard meteorologists were crying on television when describing what this impact is going to look like. I'm in Tampa and I'm only packing my Hasan merch to take with me. Yes, get the fuck out of Florida, chatters, please. I don't want to hear no chatters in the chat being like, oh, I'm stuck here. Okay, I'm stuck here. Oh, here's our meteorolog. Oh my God, I can't say it. There it is. Boom. Right on the money. 12 hours ago, 1 a.m. CDT, Milton had wind speeds of 90 miles and a minimum pressure of 975 MB. Milton went through one of the fastest rapid intensifications of an Atlantic hurricane in recorded history, and it is also one of the fastest hurricanes to go from a Category 1 to a Category 5. Hurricane Maria, a Cat 5, which meteorological. There it is. Meteorologist. I got it. One of the fastest hurricanes to go from Cat 1 to Cat 5, Hurricane Maria, Cat 5, which devastated Puerto Rico, Dominica, and Martinique in 2017, also did the same in a similar amount of time. Milton's currently a Cat 5 hurricane in the Gulf near the Yucatan and forecasts the move towards the Florida Peninsula. The NHC has stated multiple times this is an extremely life-threatening situation and is urging all Floridians / those in areas that could be affected to follow the advice of local officials. Do your best to leave if they tell you to. I know that there's a lot of Floridians out there. I know that there's a lot of fucking Floridians out there that are like, nah, it's fine. I don't give a shit.
Incredible.
I'm built different. I would not do that.
It's just an incredible hurricane. It has dropped. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific. Maximum sustained winds are 160 miles per hour, and it is just gaining strength in the Gulf of Mexico, where you can imagine the winds. The seas are just so incredibly hot. Record hot, as you might imagine. You know what's driving that. I don't need to tell you. Global warming, climate change, leading to this.
Oh, I'm tuned out. That's fake news, man. He's crying. Obviously, when he said climate change, I was like, no. I thought he was going to talk about the Chinese Jewish weather machine. And a classic liberal media doing fake news again. I hate to report on this, but it's very obviously a Jewish Chinese space laser machine that also is doing HARP weather conditions. Dude, I literally almost started crying when I was researching it. Almost the entire peninsula of Florida is at some kind of risk of flash flooding. As well as the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. The Tampa Bay area is at risk of 10 to 15 foot storm surge. Florida will be impacted by heavy rainfall before Milton makes landfall. You probably got to get out right now before before it's too fucking late. Unless you want to drive in that fucking storm surge. This will lead to comprehensive climate change legislation. No, it won't. Dog, extreme weather, like once in a lifetime weather events are now extremely commonplace, and people refuse to recognize the reality, so much so that they are refusing to harden the infrastructure against it. Like we are actively not even we're not even doing the thing that we're supposed to do to like at least save people because of our inability to recognize the reality. This has become such a fucking culture war issue at this point that people literally won't even do the things necessary, the bare minimum things necessary to at least like harden the infrastructure. And you're hearing more and more people, fucking straight up say, nah, dog, it's got to be the weather machine. That's probably what this is. Because the alternative is too scary. The truth is too scary. Okay?
Becoming an increasing threat for the Yucatan, including Mérida and Progreso and other areas there. Let's see if I can show you the latest. There's the Cat 5 information. Winds 160 miles per hour. Moving east-southeast at 9 miles per hour. And on that track, you're going to notice that this system is going to come very, very close to the Yucatan. And the dirty side of this hurricane, folks, is on the right-hand side of its progress. So therefore, they're going to get the dirty side there. These communities, many of them, as you might imagine, many folks, in that area have just the very basics, nothing else but that. So it's going to be very tough. Now let's transition to Florida because even though it is expected to weaken on approach, it is so incredibly strong right now that you're going to find it very difficult for it to be nothing less than a major hurricane when it makes landfall in Florida.
Do not call it a Category 6 hurricane. This will get you canceled. Be careful. Wait, what? I didn't say that. I said people more knowledgeable than myself are saying if there was a Cat 6 designation, this would fit it. Also, who the fuck fell off ass comment? What is that? Like, who's gonna cancel me, dude? Motherfuckers underwater in Florida? Like, what are we talking about? You will be canceled. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is refusing to speak to Kamala Harris about coordinating the hurricane response. Kamala Harris now responds on tarmac. Calls DeSantis ignoring calls utterly irresponsible and selfish. White House response to NBC News story about Governor Ron DeSantis not taking VP calls about hurricane response. What the fuck? Bro, what? What does this mean? What do you mean you're just not going to fucking initiate any kind of you're not going to fucking take any fucking, you're not going to take federal help? Like, what are you saying? White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about NBC News' report on Monday afternoon whether politics was sinking into the hurricane response. That's really for the governor to speak to, right? She replies saying that the White House invited DeSantis to survey the storm damage with Biden. It was his decision to not attend or not be there with the president. It's up to him, she added. We are doing our part in the Biden-Harris administration, working. Obviously, FEMA is working on the ground, all hands on deck, whole of government, robust approach here. And so, again, that's for Governor DeSantis to speak to.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
President.
Oh, he did? He finally took Biden's call 10 minutes ago? Biden got DeSantis on the phone from the White House. This evening, the president has separate calls with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Tampa Mayor Jane Castor to get a first-hand report on the recovery efforts for Hurricane Helene and to discuss preparations for Hurricane Milton. He asked the governor and the mayor to call him directly if there's anything that can be done to further support the response and recovery efforts. No bipartisan support to assist with the humanitarian crisis, instead focusing on political talks for a serious emergency. I just don't like. There is no fucking politics in this situation. Okay, there is no politics in a fucking hurricane. That's ridiculous. Evacuation traffic suddenly shot up after Hurricane Milton reaches Category 5 in Tampa. So the thing is. The things I link to you are directly from the NHC. He's literally going to get more people killed. I hate that motherfucker. Yeah, What? I'm in a debate about FEMA with my brother, and I've gotten to the point that he sounds like he wants FEMA to fail and not have anything in place to help people. What do you do? In times like this, you unironically need FEMA more, because we're not going to do anything to like mitigate. We're not going to do anything to mitigate the way in which these fucking extreme weather events occur, right? We're not going to do anything about climate change. We're not going to fucking dial back our carbon footprint. We're not doing anything to like harden our infrastructure against these sorts of like massive world-changing climate atrocities. So the least you can do is at least hope that there is enough money in the tank for relief and recovery, right? Like, what the fuck are we doing? I mean, shouldn't the U.S. be forced sending the fucking military? Could have stayed, refused the National Guard. I don't know. I don't know what you do in the situation. I'm sure Ron DeSantis is just like playing politics, which is insane. When you're staring down the barrel of like, you know, hundreds of your fucking citizens dying in this massive fucking hurricane. But I mean, he has capitulated. He has actually taken the call. Republicans are saying that the Biden admin pulled FEMA funds for immigration. Is that true? I mean, there's always restructuring going on in terms of like funding certain things, but I wonder where that. I'm reminded of the $17 billion that we've given to Israel, including the $9 billion that we gave to Israel. The total $18 billion of military aid we gave to Israel. I'm reminded of that number because there's plenty of restructuring that happens in the American budget throughout the fiscal year. And it doesn't seem like anyone brings this up when talking about the money in the bank. Trump is live from Florida speaking about Israel. Let's go. Wait, is he doing a standing? There's also theological reasonings for our undying loyalty to the state of Israel from a base of white evangelical Protestants, which happens to have a tremendous outsized political impact. That's kind of why we had the abortion thing happen. But, you know, here's what Aisha Siddiqui had to say about our incredible historic hurricane, Hurricane Milton, making landfall soon. Part of the toll of living under America's managed decline and the abandonment of people is how helpless and distraught one is made to feel in the face of daily horror. We try to get in touch with those we could and offer shelter, but the need far outpaces individual ability. It's a shame that the time you got as an empire was an era of extreme documentation. Saturation, think of 500 years from now. China will study the Romans and the Americans. I know which subject I would prefer. Ha ha ha. Did you see Netanyahu place mics in the former prime minister's toilet? Oh, you mean Boris Johnson? I understand that, though. Boris Johnson is an Ottoman son, tasked with destroying the West as an insider. So Benjamin Netanyahu, obviously, knowing full well that prior Zionists, like the original OG founding father of Zionism, Theodore Herzl, got fucked over by the Ottomans when they went to the Ottoman Empire to get Palestine, and they said no, knew not to trust the Ottoman son, Boris Johnson. So he wanted to see how hard he shit. I get that. Let's tune in to Tampa Mayor Jane Castor, who had this to say about the potential Category 5 hurricane making landfall in Florida. Tampa is, of course, in the way of the hurricane path.
Number one message to Tampa residents tonight?
The number one message.
They made your meme into a reality.
Several days now is that you need to prepare, do whatever you need to do, and then get out of the evacuation zones, which now are evacuation zone A and B. And as we all have heard so many times now, you hide from the wind and run from the water. And we are talking about right now the possibility of a direct hit with 10 to 12 foot tidal surge. Put that in perspective, Hurricane Helene, which just left the Tampa Bay area a week ago, there was 6 foot storm surge, and that was literally devastating to so many in our coastal area. We have 126 miles of coast just in the city of Tampa. And so people need to be heeding that warning. And from the looks of traffic on all of our northbound highways, they're doing just that.
Yeah, we've seen how jammed up those highways are. I know a lot of the tolls have been suspended to help facilitate people getting out of there. What would you say to people tonight who are saying, you know what, I'm going to ride this out, I've ridden others out? What would you say to people who aren't heeding those evacuation orders?
Well, I can tell you right now that they may have done that in others. There's never been one like this. And this, Helene was a wake-up call. This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of those evacuation areas, you're going to die.
Oh my God. I just had to beg my girlfriend for the last 2 days to get the fuck out of Tampa, and now they're finally going southbound. The problem is, it's not like people choose to stay. Like some, okay, we're talking about Florida. There are a lot of people who choose to stay, but not everyone is choosing to stay. A big issue with evacuations during hurricanes like this is the fact that people don't have south. Yes, south is also an appropriate way to escape. It's safer. That's why Miami is safer than fucking Tampa. The evacuation zones. Tropical storm zones. Are the prisons in the area cleared? Nope. The people, a lot of people that die in situations like this are people that don't have the financial capability of getting out. It's not always people who are like, fuck you, hurricane, you can't do shit to me, I'm from Florida. Okay. I-4 has been gridlocked for hours. A lot of people lost their cars in Helene, and rentals are locked up for the last week. I need people to be prepared for the fact that there aren't many residents that want to leave but won't be able to. Elderly parents, disabled, poor people without any cars, etc. I've never in my life seen a graphic like this saying to avoid nearly the entirety of the state of Florida. There's also one additional thing that I want to show you about the state of Florida, or at least specifically Tampa. The Tampa Bay area's main hospital and only trauma center is built on an island at sea level. I just want to point out that there's going to be potentially 15 feet of storm surge. By the way, this is literally fucking Florida. Like, everywhere in Florida is like this. If you're confused, what the fuck caused them to make this decision? Like, this is most of Florida. And let me tell you, they didn't do the Dutch move of like building it in a floating fashion or anything like that. My friend works there and is on emergency call. They have flood barriers that work to keep the hospital operational. Yeah, they usually have they will put up these like crazy ass fucking flood barriers around the hospital. I've seen it in action during Hurricane Helene. Oh. But I'm flying to Florida for tomorrow for a wedding. Pray for me. What are you, fucking stupid? No shot. The answer is yes. What part of Florida are you flying to? What are you guys gonna do like that? Orlando? Wait, someone in the chat said Disney World is not even closing yet. I have a family in evacuation zone C. They're in their 80s and are sheltering at the high school so they can check their mobile home when it's done. So dumb. I want them to go. We're like, look at this uninhabitable swampland. Let's build on it anyway. Surely this won't be an issue down the line. The entirety of the state of Florida, especially some of the higher density urban areas, are directly built on coke money. Like, I'm not even joking when I say this. It's not even a meme. Okay? It's indigenous slaughter on top of a swampland that they propped up with coke money and real estate scams. And now the current economy of the state of Florida revolves around crypto. That's all Florida is. It's like shoddy housing built unsustainably with infrastructure that falls apart with regular frequency. And it's completely built by coke money that people had to dump into something, and real estate was the best possible way to do it. Cocaine money, not Koch brothers. Like cocaine money. Money by trafficking cocaine. Vanilla Ice builds homes in Florida. You take that back. Well, there you go. You just proved the point I was making. Wait, that's not a joke? No, man, it's not. Yeah, just prop plane enthusiasts and speedboat enthusiasts that happen to find a passion for travel. All the way from 60s, 70s, 80s, well into the 90s. I mean, that's not, like, nothing I said is a joke. Storm surge GIS map in my chat history. Thinking about buying land in Florida, is this a good idea? I mean, if you don't plan to be able to live in it for extended periods of time throughout the year, and if you have no problem with not being able to purchase insurance for it, it seems like, or maybe you know how to breathe underwater. If you have been able to develop gill technology, that could be a reasonable thing that could be a reasonable investment for you. I'm a meteorology student, major student. This could be pretty tragic. It's actually worst case scenario if Milton weakens just before landfall, because that enables the wind field to expand, causing the storm surge to be more expansive and devastating. Winds are never the worst part of the hurricane. The flooding and storm surges. Also, don't underestimate tornadoes, since they can happen during a hurricane as well. Yeah. It's good stuff, man. I mean, it's great. Yeah, we watched the meteorologist crying on camera when discussing the nature of this. Folks, are we going to be okay? As major hurricane approaches Florida, FEMA faces severe staffing shortage. Yeah, that's kind of what happens when half of the fucking country's East Coast is directly underwater, you know? Once again, I repeat, we don't want to address the problem. We don't want to address the root cause of the problem. We want to argue on whether the root cause even exists or the problem even exists. We don't want to address what happens if the problem ends up making landfall. And we don't even have any money left in the tank for the relief and recovery efforts after the inevitable consequences of avoiding said problem for extended periods of time. What do you expect? What do you expect? Also, a lot of chatters are fucking being quite anti-Semitic. I will say, I know I'm in California and we got our own complications to worry about, such as wildfires. Okay. But I think a lot of chatters are being anti-Semitic when they talk about FEMA facing severe staffing shortages, when obviously, you know, we should probably give that money to Israel. Israel's running out of munitions, as my favorite congressperson, Lindsey Graham, correctly pointed out. What are you saying, bro? You know what I'm saying. I am Israel Chai. This was Ian in 2022. Oh my God, Twitter video is so ass. That's amazing. Okay, to be fair, that is pretty cool. Yeah. I know a guy who could get 1,000 ready and able Afghans on the problem ASAP. Guess what, dude? He was in Florida and they fucking arrested him. So who's the real villain of this story? Okay. Who's the real villain? The federal government, of course. Ryan Ruth would address the problem with the tact it deserves. Kathleen, is this you? We got lakefront home all of a sudden. Not sure if you saw this, but some guy at Washington Post wrote an article literally predicting this in 2017. Tampa Bay's coming storm. The area is due for a major hurricane and it is not prepared. If a big one scores a direct hit, the damage would likely surpass Katrina. Over the past 24 years since he moved into his house, the bayou has inched up a protective seawall and crept towards his front door. As sea level rises, a result of global warming, and contributes to the flooding in his Venetian Isles neighborhood and Shore Acres, a neighboring community of homes worth is $2.5 million, about 70 times per year. Why stay? Asked Luther, an oceanographer who knows perfectly well a hurricane could one day shove 15 feet of water into his living room. It's just so nice. Tampa Bay is mesmerizing with 700 miles of shoreline and some of the finest white sand beaches in the nation. He's like, I want to directly view the problem. As an oceanographer, I know what's about to happen, and I would like to be there experiencing it in real time. If like half of Tampa and the West Coast Florida gets wiped out, what's the point of rebuilding? Like, I don't even know how to answer this question. Like, what are we? I get where you're coming from, where it's like, it makes no sense. Like, you cannot fucking live there, you know? You literally cannot live there at this point. But you will never stop Americans from living there. Do you understand? As an oceanographer, his job is to go where the ocean is, his living room. Could this end up being an October surprise that flips Florida for their election? What are you saying? No. If anything, they will be more committed to voting for Donald Trump because they'll be like, Biden did the Jewish weather machine on us. Or also on top of, first of all, I love this question because it's like, liberalism is so one note where it's like, hey, a potential devastating, catastrophic natural event is about to take place in an otherwise deeply red state. How will this impact the election? That's a funny line of questioning. But beyond that, it also completely denies the almost problematic amount of agency that Americans have, and the way that they make decisions and the way that they think about these things. Okay, just like everything else, everything in the United States of America is hyper polarized, and that, of course, is not simply limited to, I don't know, gun control or anything, really everything, but it's also hurricanes. Hurricanes are publicized and politicized. Okay, they're hyper polarized. So when a Republican state gets hit by a hurricane, the question immediately does not turn to like, how do we make sure that this never happens again? But instead it turns into, this is what the Democrats did to me. The Democrats did this to me. There's Trump flags being flown on beachfront properties, and those homes are surrounded by other homes with for sale signs. Yes, the hurricane will devastate Florida, and then Trump will famously say it would never have happened under him. That's what he's going to say. And people in Florida will go, oh my God, he's the most right anyone's ever been, and vote for him willingly. Do you understand? The other frustrating angle here is that this is one of the few issues where the Democrats are like noticeably and still to this day objectively better on. Like they're trying to reach the Republican side on the matter. They do this very stupid Democratic Party thing where they say, we see you, we hear you, we listen to the experts, climate change is real, and that's why we're going to be fracking and drilling baby drilling. And Trump just says climate change is fake and gay, Chinese made it up, and also we're going to keep drilling. Which is weird because at least on the legislative front, the Democrats do recognize that climate change is real, so they do take some initiatives against it. And you are probably more likely to have a better response in times of need under a Democratic administration that is at least a little bit more competent. But even then, given how far right we have become as a nation, even with the marginally better stance that the Democrats have on the issue, recognizing climate change, trying to craft legislation that at least like hardens the American infrastructure against all of the worst impacts of devastating climate change. It's still not enough. Congress will pass $1 billion aid package to fund FEMA and will tie Israel money to it. Possibly. Have you seen this pandering by Israel to evangelists? Urgent Channel 12. Netanyahu proposes changing the name of the war from Iron Swords to Apocalypse War. Oh my God. It's not just evangelists. I think he's just saying, like, we're going to fight Iran. There's a flock of birds stuck in the eye. They report observing flocks of birds within the eye of Milton. Thoughts on the fact that this hurricane is made by leftists by their machines to infect Florida with a gay virus. The truth is getting censored. Yeah. Milton is the only Category 5 hurricane in Atlantic records to have any sort of southeasterly motion vector. Southeasterly. What does that even like? So they never go in that direction normally? Is that what it is? Most of them hit like that. This one is hitting like this, going in the opposite direction. Dude, I'm not like I am not particularly a apocalypse believing guy. But it does come across as somewhat apocalyptic. And I don't think the evangelicals are going to get sucked up into the fucking sucked up into the heavens, if I'm being honest. Look how Milton curves into Florida, then out and not up the coast. Yeah, it looks like it's just, bro. It does. It looks like it's avoiding. It was born right here, and is now just fucking. It's like, nah, I'm just gonna hit Florida. Like, fuck that. Nothing else. Like, look at this shit. Since 1851, a total of 14 hurricanes have formed in the Gulf of Mexico that moved to the east and into Florida. See, it's happened before. A total of 14 times. What now, libtard? Since 1851, Jewish, Chinese, and now I'm beginning to find out Mexicans worked in a collaborative effort with their weather machine to target the beautiful state of Florida a sum total of 14 times. Okay? Here at the Hasanabi broadcast, we arrive at the truth. And I'm beginning to realize that it wasn't just the Chinese nor the Jewish population. It also happens to be undocumented Mexicans who are seemingly living in Mexico. So technically they would be documented Mexican citizens, but like they want to come to America and be undocumented. It's like God is sending the great flood to Florida. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't for the fact that there's so many poor people living in the trajectory that will get absolutely fucking destroyed and killed. By the time it gets to Orlando, is a Cat 1. Tampa is just fucking tanking it, dude. How hurricane categories make a difference.
When it comes to hurricanes,
this is a classic video.
Each one's impacts are a little bit different, but the wind speeds that we talk about along the Saffir-Simpson scale, those are very specific. And the damage caused in those categories, kind of predictable.
Wait, get out of the way, sir.
So let me show you. Let's start
Don't
off
do it.
with a Category 1 storm.
No.
And the damage here, not too bad. A couple of shingles fall off. You can have some palm fronds bending in the wind, but everything basically remains intact. Category 2, that's where you really start to feel it. Look at the windows of the house. They can be hit from debris from the outside and already start breaking in a Category 2.
What?
Your trees are significantly bent over in the wind, and the siding of the house itself can break, flapping there in the wind, adding to those eerie noises inside. Category 3. I've heard only a Category 3, but it's not only anything except really bad news. In a Category 3, you can have the door of the house blown in because the winds get so strong. You can have...
For the record, as it stands currently, it's going to hit Tampa as a Category 3. Why are you standing there, sir?
The roof of the house start to flap up and down in the wind because it can lift off those weak points, and a lot of those trees start to fall. Category 4, the damage is even worse. You get most trees falling, most of your windows breaking, most of your shingles fly away, and then Cat 5 is as high as the category scale goes. By Cat 5, no shingles remain anywhere nearby.
Like, it's currently Cat 5. Someone also said that there might be another. There might be another massive tropical storm after, too. Yeah, there you have it. An undocumented Mexican Chinese person of Jewish descent controlling the weather right in front of your eyes. What now, liberals? You don't want to see the reality. I'm thinking maybe he's Russian too.
The holes in the roof get so big that the walls of the house start to fall because they're not attached to anything anymore. There won't be any trees up in the neighborhood.
Look, he's just standing there. He's like, I'm tanking it. I don't give a fuck. Cat 5, dude. I don't give a shit.
That's just catastrophic damage. But again, that's just from the wind. And there are other impacts from hurricanes, and they all vary through the season. So stick with the Weather Channel to keep you safe when the tropics head towards you.
Hurricane Milton's rapid intensification is a part of climate-fueled trend. It strengthened from a tropical storm to a Cat 5 in just 24 hours.
A lot of coastal Floridians often evacuate to Hallie, and they're saying this is one of the biggest evacuations that they've had to do here in Florida. More than 7 million people trying to move out of those most at-risk areas. And here we're more than 100 miles inland, and you can see that even folks here in Orlando are taking this seriously. They're filling up sandbags. Orange County alone says they've already given out more than 100,000 sandbags because here in Orlando, when Hurricane Ian came through just a couple of years ago, they got 13, 15 inches of rain in some places, and that triggered flash flooding. They had to rescue hundreds of people from their homes. So even well inland here in Orlando, they are taking this threat seriously, Hallie.
There's also a climate connection here too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bill was just talking about this rapid intensification that Milton is breaking all sorts of records, the second fastest to go from a Category 1 to a Category 5 hurricane. So here's some context on that.
By the way, there is no diversion. Stinky said Helene made landfall at Cat 4. There is no diversion of funds to illegals or whatever. I know that that's a conspiracy theory that like a lot of chatters have presented here. It's an entirely separate fund. You could potentially ask for more money for FEMA, which Congress seemingly does not have any money in the budget for. But that's it. There is no it's no different than saying that the money is being allocated to Israel instead. When people say that, I guess they're trying to say the government is spending the money that we have instead of diverting additional funds to FEMA on whatever kind of project that they're interested in. Now, obviously, they control the media shit is also deeply anti-Semitic and completely made up. Okay, cloud seeding or things of that nature cannot cause motherfucking hurricanes. Okay, it's just another conspiracy theory that people are presenting because they refuse to recognize the reality of anthropogenic climate change and what happens when both sea levels rise and also get warmer and warmer. So that's another, that's another silly thing that people are repeating or saying. I Yeah, cloud seeding can cause floods and has. But that's very different than a fucking hurricane. Yeah, we covered it. Also, Florida's insurance carriers used altered hurricane damage reports in an effort to give less money to the people who were impacted. Here's what's not a fucking conspiracy. Capitalism. What is this? You telling me this ain't real? 50K
What
likes?
in the world is Noah doing here? I've never seen this type of flight pattern. Now, obviously.
What? No fucking way. This guy's not this stupid, right? Oh my God. Oh my God. Like 98% of conspiracy theories unironically stem from people just like not knowing how things work and then slapping on a scary music TikTok sound over it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is 56,000 likes. Dude, how do you think we map out hurricanes ahead of time? Magic? Do you just think critically about this, okay? Do you think we just look at it with our eyes when it's literally in the middle of the fucking water? How do you think people figure out the trajectory and the intensity of a hurricane? Oh my God, this guy. You could make these people believe anything, bro. Like, he said he's never seen anything like this before, and I don't understand why he's saying that. If he's knowledgeable enough to look for this flight, he should understand what the purpose of it is.
What in the world is Noah doing here?
Like, what do you think? What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Please let me look at the comments. Like, they got to be ripping him, right? Cloud seeding to intensify the storm. Always around election time, things get nut. Just saying. Cloud seeding to direct hurricane. Who's piloting the plane? Do they have a soul? Oh my God. I haven't seen a single fucking unpopular opinion, but no always flies hurricane to get wind speed. Oh, thank God. Only 55 likes. That's crazy. That's crazy. Why did you say it's an unpopular opinion? It's not an unpopular opinion. It's just what it's doing. What is happening? Ah! Ah! What the fuck? Okay. And cloud seeding, that's not unpopular. That's just a true and logical opinion. People act like the NOAA doesn't have a whole part of it just taking readings on, for taking readings on storms. Basic science, publicly available science. It's the unpopular opinion in this comment section. Wrong. That information can be done without flying into the storm. It's called weather manipulation. Try accepting that the government is at war with the people.